Dad shut me out of his party because I bring up memories of his ex-wife. So I faced him, told him I was finished, and walked away, leaving him to sit with his pain. From your own family's birthday party, not because you did anything wrong, but because your face reminded your father of his ex-wife. It felt like a punch to the gut, a betrayal so deep it literally made my body shut down. It all started innocently enough. I was scrolling through Instagram, just minding my own business, when I saw it. A photo on my cousin's page. The invitation. Right there on her kitchen counter. David's 50th family party. Time, location, everything. My heart dropped. I hadn't received one. David, my dad, was throwing a party, and I wasn't invited. My brother, Michael, called a few minutes later, completely oblivious. Or so I thought. We chatted for a bit, then he casually brought up his Friday plans. What plans? I asked, a knot forming in my stomach. Oh, just some dinner. My gut screamed. He knew. He absolutely knew, and he was trying to hide it. Is it Dad's birthday party? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Silence. A long, heavy silence. Then a defeated sigh. How did you find out? He finally mumbled. So it's true, I said, my voice shaking. He invited everyone except me. Michael tried to play it off. Maybe he just hasn't gotten around to inviting you yet. 3 days before the party, Michael. 3 days. Look, he pleaded. I don't want to get in the middle of this. Too late. You are in the middle, Michael. You're going to a party I'm not invited to. He sighed again. What do you want me to do? Not go? No, I said. I want you to ask him why his daughter isn't invited. We both knew why. Everyone knew why. I looked exactly like Mom. Same black hair, same green eyes, same petite nose. Every morning, the mirror showed me her face. The face of the woman who destroyed our family. I drove to Dad's house that Thursday, my stomach churning. He was in the garage tinkering as always. He always disappeared into that garage. Hey, Dad, I said, trying to keep my voice even. The moment he saw me, his face tensed. It was like he physically recoiled. What are you doing here? He asked, not even bothering to look up. Can I visit my own father? I retorted. He just grunted, turning back to his tools. Are you having a party on Friday? His shoulders stiffened. Who told you? Does it matter? I pressed, my voice gaining strength. Why wasn't I invited? He finally turned, and his gaze was ice cold. You know why? No, I lied, I don't. He glared. Every time I look at you, I see her. Same eyes, same nose, same lying face. My mom cheated on him 10 years ago. I was 10, Michael was 12. She packed up, moved to Arizona with the other man, had more kids. We never saw her again. I'm not her, I pleaded, my voice cracking. I'm your daughter. I stayed. I chose you. Doesn't matter, he scoffed. You look just like her, sound like her, even stand like her. That's not my fault. I yelled. I don't care whose fault it is, he shouted back, his voice rising. I can't have you there. Not for my birthday. Not with everyone watching, thinking about what she did. But Michael looks like her too. I argued. We're siblings. We have the same mother. He laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. Michael looks like me. Acts like me. You're all her. Every gesture, every laugh, everything. He picked up his tools again, dismissing me. Please leave. My heart shattered. Dad, I whispered. I've been here every Father's Day, every Christmas. Even when you barely acknowledged me. Leave, he snapped, his voice sharp as a knife. I sat in my car for an hour, numb. All those years, all those times I felt invisible. Dad cheering for Michael at every school event, barely clapping for me. Dad teaching Michael to drive, telling me I could figure it out. He saw me as transparent, a ghost of her. That Friday, my plans were simple. Pizza, TV, and trying to ignore the gaping hole in my heart. Michael sent a text. A picture from the party. Everyone was there. My granny, who hardly ever traveled, was all the way from Florida. My cousins laughing. Shot after shot of the family I was excluded from. All because my face was wrong. Sunday morning, Michael called. It was weird without you, he said. Oh really? But you still went, didn't you? You still chose his side. There aren't sides, he argued. He's our father. He's your father. I shot back, the anger bubbling over. Apparently, I'm just a reminder of his ex-wife. That's not fair, Michael said. Fair? I seethed. He excluded me from a family party because of my genetics. Tell me what's fair about that. Silence again. He's hurting, Michael finally confessed, after 10 years of silent anguish. So have I retorted. The difference is I didn't abandon my child over it. Monday morning, I went back to his house. No knock this time. I used my old lost key. He was at the kitchen table, organizing birthday cards. Probably never sent a thank you. Get out, he said without looking up. No. I sat across from him. You need to hear this. The words poured out. She did it to all of us. I lost my mother, and you and Michael, you lost yours too. But despite all that, you left me when I was 10. The worst part? I kept coming back, hoping you'd see me instead of her. I'm done. I'm done trying to earn something that should be free. Michael can have you all to himself. Where are you going? He asked, finally looking up. My head swam, then everything went dark. David's terrified face, his trembling hands on my shoulder, were the first things I saw when I woke up on the kitchen floor. Sirens wailed outside. He'd called 911. Paramedics rushed in. David, his face white with fear, stumbled out of their way. The female paramedic knelt beside me, checking my pulse, shining a light in my eyes. My voice was weak, scratchy. They hooked me up, cuffed my arm. David stood against the counter, wringing his hands. I fainted after fighting, he mumbled to the male paramedic. The female medic eyed him, then me. The tension in the air was thick. My blood pressure was dangerously low. They strapped me to a stretcher. David wanted to come in the ambulance. They hesitated, but let him. Inside, I had an oxygen mask, a heart monitor beeping steadily. David sat across from me, thin, shivering, his hands on his knees. He reached out to grab my hand, then stopped halfway, his fingers extended, frozen. He pulled back, placing his hands firmly on his thighs. The silence stretched, broken only by the siren's wail. At the hospital, after the smell of disinfectant hit me, a tall doctor, Dr. Harrison, examined me. He kept glancing between me and David, anticipating drama. He said I'd had a significant, stress-induced dehydration and low blood sugar episode. My body had just shut down. He ordered tests and 4. I closed my eyes, exhausted. Then Michael was there, worried eyes, still in his party shirt. What happened? He asked, eyeing our dad. David rasped, she fainted at my house. Michael's eyes widened, knowing there was more. He pulled Dad into the corridor. Through the closed door, I heard Michael demand what I'd said before I fell. He was furious. He yelled at Dad, told him how wrong it was to exclude me. Then Sophia walked in, my phone charger and an overnight bag in hand. She looked at Michael and David arguing through the glass, then came straight to my bedside. Her eyes were strict. What do you want? She asked softly. Should David leave? My voice broke. I don't have the energy to cope with him. Sophia opened the door and kindly but firmly told David to go home. He started to protest. Michael stepped in. Dad, you've done enough for one day. David sagged, looking 10 years older, and slowly walked away. Dr. Harrison returned with my test results. Stressed, emaciated from poor diet, dangerously high blood pressure. He asked if I was safe, if the family conflict was ongoing. It broke my heart to tell him about the birthday party, being shunned for looking like my mother. Dr. Harrison's professional demeanor softened. He said this breakdown was my body's way of telling me to stop, to face my issues. Michael knelt by my bed, apologetic. I should have faced Dad years ago, he whispered. Sophia held my hand. Then Karen, my granny, appeared, still in her party dress, her face twisted with a fury I'd never seen. She grabbed my free hand, holding it tight. She apologized, her voice shaking, for not speaking up sooner about David's abuse. Michael was shocked by her harshness. I've been seeing this dysfunction for years, she said, and my silence made me complicit. She'd intervened at the party after I left. I confronted David, she told us, right there, in front of everyone, asking why his own daughter wasn't invited to a family celebration. When David said I resembled my mother, Karen called his comments the worst. David turned bright red and tried to escape, but she followed him. After hearing the whole story, my cousin Isabella and others texted me worried. Karen said others were uncomfortable, like they knew it was wrong but did nothing. She vowed to stay in town until David understood the gravity of his actions. Dr. Harrison discharged me. Rest, nutrition, follow up with my doctor. Your body is giving you clear indicators you can't ignore. Sophia insisted I stay at Michael's. She texted herself my apartment key code to grab my clothes. Karen extended her hotel stay. Michael drove us. The evening air felt cold. I was still in my hospital gown. Michael's small one-bedroom apartment, a shabby couch. He hovered, asking what I wanted, how I felt. Sophia arrived quickly with my things. Michael ordered Thai food. My stomach ached, but I ate pad Thai. Michael sat across from me, apologizing for going to the party, for not challenging Dad. He felt he should have boycotted it. His voice sounded tired, flat. He admitted he was scared of losing Dad, scared Dad would reject him if he backed me. He took the easy way out. He knew how cowardly it was. I didn't argue. We agreed. Sophia slept on the couch that night, Michael on the floor, me in his bed. We talked for hours. I told them about every Father's Day, every graduation, every achievement where David saw Michael, but not me. Sophia listened, her face tightening. You've been living in survival mode, she said, constantly trying to prove you deserve basic parental affection that should have been freely given. Michael sat up. I never knew it was this bad. He thought Dad was just harder on me, not rejecting me entirely. We talked until exhaustion won. The next morning, Michael's phone rang. David. Michael rejected the call, silenced his phone. Text buzzed. David asking about my health. Michael texted back. She's alive and recovering, but you need to give her space. Another text. When can I see her? I shook my head. Michael texted. She decides, not you. He put his phone face down. Later, my cousin Isabella arrived at Michael's puffy red eyes. She put white daisies on the couch and apologized for leaving the party invitation where I could see it. Family had murmured about David's behavior, she said, but no one left. She regretted that. I didn't blame her. David's actions were the problem, not her post. The next few days at Michael's were a blur of sleep. Sophia worked remotely from his couch, and we talked for hours about family trauma, forgiveness, and self-protection. She explained limits, how she left her own toxic father years ago. Choosing mental health over a bad relationship was worth the embarrassment and agony, she said. I wasn't always preparing for his judgment anymore. Karen visited, bringing homemade chicken and rice soup. She sat next to me, furious. Michael was shocked by her raw honesty. David was shocked when your mother left, hurt by the betrayal, she said, but punishing you for it makes no sense. She regretted her silence, how she enabled him by not speaking up. Seeing him reject his own daughter was my saddest nightmare, she cried. She'd been in therapy for a year herself, repenting for her complicity. I'm done protecting David from his behavior, she declared. He will apologize to you and accept help. She looked fierce, resolute. Michael stared at his granny differently. 2 days after my collapse, Michael drove me to my doctor's appointment. She was honest. You have chronic stress disorder, she said. You need to make major changes to prevent serious health consequences. She listed them: heart, stomach, immune system failure. She wrote down a therapist's name. She also recommended 2 weeks off work. I was relieved but apprehensive. Michael brought me home. My fridge was covered in Sophia's sticky notes. You've got this. Proud of you. 1 day at a time. She'd stocked it with healthy food. When Michael left, the silence in my apartment was deafening. More notes from Sophia were hidden everywhere. I cried at my kitchen table. For the next 2 days, tears flowed intermittently. I grieved my father's love, a man who lived 15 minutes away, yet might as well have been dead. At least then, I could blame fate. Not his choice. Sophia checked on me every night, bringing more food. She held me as I cried. Grief hurts this much, she whispered. My first therapy appointment. Dr. Peterson, a 50-year-old woman with kind, intelligent eyes. I chose a chair over the couch. I talked for 20 minutes, starting with the birthday party, the breakdown, the realization I needed help. I told her about being 10, watching my mother leave. David teaching Michael to drive, but not me. Every Father's Day, every academic achievement that was ignored. Dr. Peterson didn't interrupt. She just watched me, like she was seeing right through me. She asked me what I wanted from my relationship with David, now that he'd shown he couldn't love me the way I wanted. The question surprised me. Love, I said, the word cracking. Dr. Peterson gently explained the difference between expecting a fairy tale and accepting reality. I can understand David's constraints, she said, that your mother's actions hurt him and probably always will. But that didn't excuse his rejection. She suggested I imagine a relationship with him where I set appropriate limits, instead of trying to earn his love. The idea was terrifying and freeing. Freedom from striving. Fear of giving up after 10 years of trying. Accepting that the father-daughter relationship I dreamed of would never happen. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for ourselves, she said, is grieve what we'll never have so we can build something different with what's actually possible. I left her office drained, but lighter. Michael called that night. David was pleading with him to meet, to apologize. I told Michael I wasn't ready. and that if David wrote something, Michael could transfer it, but I'd decide when to respond. Michael warned me that Dad wasn't good with words. I felt like he was bracing me for another letdown. 3 days later, Michael came over, holding a suspicious letter. David's handwriting was clumsy. 3 paragraphs. Admissions of error. He claimed seeing me collapse had scared him, made him realize he'd been too hard. Too hard. Not rejected, not abandoned. The letter was all about his feelings, his sorrow. Not a single apology for what he did to me. Michael waited nervously. He'd told David the letter needed revision, but Dad had sent it anyway. At my next therapy session, Dr. Peterson read David's letter. She pointed out how it focused on his fear, not the anguish he caused. She asked what I needed beyond the letter. I wanted him to confess fault, to say I didn't deserve his rejection, that my looking like Mom wasn't my fault, that his unresolved grief had deprived us of a father-daughter relationship. Dr. Peterson suggested I write my own response. It took me 2 days. The first draft was too kind, trying to console him. Discarded. The second was pure rage. Pages of fury at how he'd looked through me. Neither felt right. The third was real. I wrote about losing both parents at 10. About him celebrating Michael but ignoring me. About the birthday party being the final sign that I would never be enough. That he should have separated me from his ex-wife. That his anguish didn't excuse his damage. He chose his pain over his daughter. By the 4th draft, I was crying, but the words fit. Honest, not protective. Michael read it on my couch. Halfway through the first page, he got teary. He admitted he never knew how bad it was. He didn't realize Dad's harshness was rejection. Physical presence without emotional connection, I told him, may be worse than absence. Michael apologized for being the favorite, for not speaking up. He returned the letter to the envelope. He understood. 2 days later, Michael called. David had cried when he read my letter. He hadn't realized how much he hurt me. He claimed he cared, despite his inability to show it. He thought I understood his coldness was about my mother. Michael was clear. Tears don't fix 10 years of damage. And crying is the bare minimum for emotionally abandoning your child. I met Karen for lunch the next day. She hugged me tight. She'd been talking to David every day, telling him to focus on my pain, not his. He became defensive, saying she didn't understand. Karen said she'd hold him accountable, even if it ruined their relationship. She'd sooner lose her son than see him injure his daughter. At my next therapy session, Dr. Peterson asked about David's responsibility. My needs went beyond apologies. I hadn't even considered it. I just expected him to magically become my father. She brought out a notebook. I wanted long-term behavioral change, not just emotional reactions. No more degrading comments about my appearance. He needed to remember anniversaries, holidays, without being asked. She said he should focus on his unresolved grief, not me. He'd have to work hard for months, not weeks, before I'd take him back. She warned me, David might not be capable. But setting my own limits, even if it meant no relationship, was paramount. Sophia helped me formalize the list of requirements for David. Bereavement and family therapy for 5 months before I'd consider regular contact. Apologies for specific childhood events. No comments about my appearance. Consistent good behavior in public. No prompting for birthdays or holidays. 2 pages of clear criteria. I don't want him flawless or changed, Sophia said, rereading it. I want basic respect and a genuine attempt to mend his mess. If he can't meet these requirements, then he doesn't deserve to be in my life. And that's his loss, not yours. Michael took the list to David. David read it twice, overwhelmed. He asked if the requirements were negotiable. Michael firmly said no. David asked what he could do now. Michael recommended therapy. David grew defensive, said some rules were too strict. Michael quickly shot back that 10 years of rejection was terrible, and my list was just basic human decency. David didn't argue. Michael left the list, telling David to consider it, because I wouldn't take shortcuts. 2 weeks later, I returned to work. My supervisor was understanding. Go at your own pace, she said. My co-workers, who knew me well, saw a difference. I felt more cautious, more anchored. I told a few people I'd been hospitalized after a fight with my father. Their support was quiet, respectful. Family issues felt less overwhelming at work. Isabella texted me. David, the David, was asking family for therapist referrals. Everyone was startled. Several family members had called David directly, denouncing his behavior. Our aunt had a long conversation about how ashamed she was of his abuse. Our uncle told David his exclusion of me was unjust. Isabella said the family felt David needed to change substantially. I wasn't alone anymore. Silence had made people complicit, but now they were speaking up. Michael confirmed David started therapy, family and bereavement counseling. Michael said David was admitting it was harder than he thought. He was starting to understand how much of his rage at my mother had gone to me. Michael was cautiously optimistic, but realistic. 2 weeks of therapy can't restore 10 years of damage, he said. He kept track of David's progress, so I didn't have to. Dr. Peterson's sessions focused on my healing. She had me write letters to my 10-year-old self, the child who lost her mother, then her living father. I cried every time, but it transformed me. David's rejection wasn't about my worth. It was about his inability to control his pain. His decision, his failure, not mine. This understanding is crucial, Dr. Peterson said, because it means you can stop trying to fix yourself into someone David can love. You were always lovable. He was just too damaged to see it. I told Michael I wouldn't be attending Thanksgiving with David. Pretending everything was okay made me queasy. Michael understood. He'd see David for an hour, then join me, Sophia, and Karen. Karen called to say she'd be with my family, not David. When she told him, he became angry, saying everyone was abandoning him. Karen defined it as consequences for your actions. My Thanksgiving was the best ever. Sophia's apartment, friends, Michael, Karen. We overcooked. We laughed at our bad cooking. We went around the table, sharing what we were thankful for. When it was my turn, I thanked the collapse. Everyone was surprised. But passing out in David's kitchen had revealed everything. All the dysfunction unavoidable. I thanked those who supported me, who didn't make excuses for David. Sophia cried, gripping my hand. Michael thanked me for telling him how bad things were. Karen shared old stories of David, his tenderness as a child, how someone had trained him to bottle up his feelings into anger. It helped me see him as a flawed person, not just the father who rejected me. The night filled me in ways food couldn't. The day after Thanksgiving, David's handwritten envelope appeared in my mailbox. A turkey card. He was glad I was alive, in therapy, and he had to improve as a dad. Michael called later. David had spent most of Thanksgiving at Karen's, looking uncomfortable, like he knew his actions had consequences. I kept the card in a drawer. Michael told me David had asked his therapist about family therapy. He wanted to know if I'd agree. 2 weeks of therapy can't erase 10 years of rejection, Michael told him. At my next session, Dr. Peterson said family therapy could help, but only if both sides were truly committed. I wasn't ready. She said, "All right." My recuperation, not David's next move, was the priority. December was quiet. Sophia and I cooked, talking about our weeks. Michael visited more often, admitting he hadn't realized how much his favoritism hurt me. Karen checked in, talking about her friends, her reading club, her own therapy. Having family that prioritized my well-being, without conditions, was new. Michael said David was taking therapy seriously, linking his rejection of me to his buried hatred of my mother. He'd been punishing me for her decisions. Michael said David cried constantly in that session. It made me wonder, was he finally facing it? 2 days before Christmas, David asked Michael for a longer letter. I agreed to read it. Christmas Eve. The heavy envelope. I opened it at home. This letter was different. Specifics, not defense. He remembered missing my high school writing award, barely speaking to me at college graduation while other parents hugged their kids. Years of small rejections, he said, made me feel irrelevant. He apologized, truly apologized, for making me carry his unresolved pain, for treating me like a symbol of his failed marriage instead of his child. He said leaving him out of my life wouldn't hurt him if I chose that. His rejection wasn't about me. I hadn't done anything wrong. He concluded by saying he'd keep up therapy for himself, not for me. I read it twice, 3 times, crying. Dr. Peterson noticed the difference in my post-Christmas session. This letter showed accountability without prioritizing his feelings. It validated, grieved, and inspired me. He'd confessed he failed me. It confirmed the feelings I couldn't articulate. Weed. Missed years, a father-daughter bond. Cautious hope. She reminded me that a good letter didn't obligate me to reconcile, but it could help me decide. That Christmas day, I cooked with Michael, Sophia, and Karen. Karen had spoken to David that morning. He was hurting, grieving what he'd lost. She told him to continue therapy, to follow my timeline. Sophia won Scrabble. I realized I could just exist, spend time with people who wanted me, without trying to win David's attention. Early January. I rewrote my response to David's letter. I appreciated his labor, his responsibility. No direct contact yet, but I'd reconnect if he continued treatment and showed improvement. I demanded respect. No comparing me to Mom. Michael delivered the letter. That night, he emailed me. David had read it multiple times, relieved and sobered by the conditions. He was grateful I was keeping the door open, even a crack. He'd asked his therapist how to show progress. My therapy with Dr. Peterson shifted. We processed the bereavement of my missing father. She asked me to imagine a wonderful father-daughter relationship, then examined David's ability. I was learning to balance two truths. David wants to change after 10 years of hurting me, and I don't have to pick. Both are real. My fury lessens. Not because I'm forgiving him. I'm building a life without his love. This is what healing looks like, she said, when you stop waiting for someone else to fix what they broke and start building something new for yourself instead. Michael forwarded David's email in mid-February. A concise, intelligent message. His therapist recommended occasional emails. He wanted to ask if I'd reply, but wouldn't until I was ready. I stared at it for 15 minutes. Dr. Peterson said it showed boundary awareness. Given his progress, it was okay if I set limits. I agreed to weekly emails with ground rules. No guilt trips, no comparisons to Mom. If he broke them once, I was done. He agreed. Our first serious email was awkward. Therapy work. I briefly outlined my proposal, asked about his house. We spoke like strangers, not crying or yelling. He asked about my themes, listening and remembering after I told him about a difficult customer. He asked questions, didn't talk about himself. He was practicing. The emails were professional, yet more genuine than any conversation in years. Michael said David read them multiple times, asking if his responses were okay. He kept a folder. I was starting to relax, but always watching. Late March. David sent a strange email. He knew he couldn't ask for more, but wondered if I'd meet for coffee with Michael as a buffer. He'd keep treatment if it was too much. I debated for 2 days. A whole therapy session with Dr. Peterson. We practiced me leaving, changing the subject. She reminded me I could leave if I felt disrespected. Sophia demanded I email her after the meeting to confirm my safety. Saturday morning. A cafe across town. Michael was at a corner table, nervous. 5 minutes later, David arrived. I'd never seen him so scared. His voice shook as he thanked me, admitting how hard this was. 10 minutes of weather talk. Michael filled awkward silences. David listened. He kept his progress private. After 45 minutes, I was done. David asked if I'd do it again. Maybe, I said. Not sure, but maybe. The most honest comment I'd given him in years. Michael called that night. David had cried. It went better than expected. He was afraid I'd stop communicating. His therapist was managing expectations. Trust takes time. My desire to try was a gift. April brought more emails, another coffee meeting, this time without Michael. I suggested it. We talked for an hour. He described his treatment, how his own father was cold, never taught him to handle suffering. He admitted to punishing me because he couldn't reach my mother. I spoke about my own therapy, reclaiming self-worth. It was a conversation between two adults, not a daughter begging for scraps. He learned to let me lead, not asking about next time. Karen called. She praised my management of David. He's changed unexpectedly, she said. He took responsibility for his emotions. It felt real, but she emphasized the long road ahead. Early May. David invited me to a small family supper for Michael's birthday. Just us four. I agreed with an escape clause. Michael drove me to David's house. Dinner was weird, but fine. David asked about my life. He told a childhood story about Michael winning baseball, then realized he was praising Michael's wins, but ignoring mine. He apologized mid-sentence. Self-awareness. Progress. After dinner, David brought out a photo album. Not a family album. Photos of me. Childhood moments. Summer porch reading, my 8th grade graduation, my piano concert. Moments I'd never seen. He'd filmed them, observed me, even when he couldn't help. He'd been sorting through old photos in therapy, trying to separate me from my mother. The album was soothing and mournful. I cried when I looked at it later. A father who loved me, but couldn't express it, kept my childhood, while pushing me away. Dr. Peterson gently lifted the album in our next session. She asked how it felt, seeing David's unshared moments. It was hard. Thrilled he kept them, but upset he was paying attention, yet rejected me. Both could be true, she said. His unwillingness to share these experiences hurt him too. We debated how to honor his current efforts while mourning my missing 10 years. Healing wasn't about rejecting the past. It was about knowing David and what kind of relationship was possible. She asked what I wanted now. Not the childhood father. I wanted a parent who admitted his faults, respected my limits, without holding me responsible for his feelings. By late May, David and I had weekly emails and monthly coffee. We might never be close, but respect was growing. He was still in therapy. His therapist was helping him draft letters he'd never send, to work through his hatred of my mother. Michael said he'd never seen Dad so self-improved. Karen praised his persistence. She warned me, honest doesn't mean faultless. He'd fail, but the change felt real. First week of June. Coffee again. David fidgeted. I'm considering what you need next, he said. I took a moment. I appreciated his efforts. I wanted to keep connecting. But some damage was permanent. His rejection as a child and teen would always hurt. He listened without defending. He had to accept his mistakes. Therapy helped him realize he could choose his present, not his past. 2 months after that coffee, David and I are closer than we've been in 10 years. It's different from my childhood wish. I talk to him out of respect, not to seek affection. I stopped waiting for him to be my father, because that version doesn't exist and never will. He still asks about my job, remembers things. I'm cautious, watchful for old habits. But I'm grateful for our imperfect growth. My journey is ongoing. I deserve praise for defending myself. Life isn't perfect, and David's work 10 years ago would have transformed our family. Sometimes flawed progress is the best hope, and it may be enough now. Have you ever had to choose between a relationship and your own well-being? Or confronted a family member who refused to see you for who you truly are? Let me know in the comments below. I'd really love to hear your thoughts.